Asian Five Nations Rugby kicked off the 2013 season in Sri Lanka, and as one of the original founding members of the Asian Rugby Football Union, was chosen to host the launch of the new ARFU logo on the 45th anniversary of the union's founding.
As you know, Sri Lanka is a founding member. It's actually also a founding team for the Hong Kong Sevens, one of the first 17 or 18 teams that played. So it's very prestigious for us to have Asian Rugby recognize us for what we are.
Today we have our new logo, that we're 45 years old, that 5 years ago we looked to do constitutional changes, we changed the structure of the tournaments, we created the A5N, the Asian 7 Series, and I think Asian Rugby has moved up into a completely different plane now.
Those constitutional changes led to the establishment of a new multi-tiered annual competition that became known as the HSBC Asian Five Nations. The new format, based on annual promotion and relegation, is the product of years of work that began in earnest in 1968.
It started with an idea between two keen rugby countries, primarily Japan and Hong Kong. My understanding was that it was at the Tokyo Olympics. Shiggy Kono, the then chairman of the Japan Rugby Football Union, and Vernon Roberts from Hong Kong, who was president of the Hong Kong Rugby Football Union. So basically it was an idea born at the Olympics, and that spirit carried through to its formation.
ARFU, as I remember, was established in 1968 with 8 Asian countries: Malaysia, Japan, Thailand, Singapore, Sri Lanka, Korea, Hong Kong. And now there are 28 nations. It has spread very, very wide.
With the official formation of the Union in 1968, it was now up to the founding members to set out an agenda that would fulfill the twin goals of developing the game in Asia and providing players with a regional format that would increase opportunities for international competition. The result was the Asian Rugby Football Union Cup.
The idea was that every 2 years, 8 or so countries would get together. Each would take a turn hosting it every 2 years and just play a series of matches, and that's how it all started.
The big changes came about 10, 11 years ago. So we may have gone from about 10 members or 8 to 10 members to what we have now is 28, and that's been in 10 years. So I suppose if you look at Asia, we've had sort of maybe 35, 37 years of an organisation that came together because they wanted to play tournaments, to an organisation now that's trying to move ahead, trying to become, leaders in areas of sports, both in terms of governance, but also in terms of trying to initiate more competitive sport across Asia.
Arguably, the Union's most far-reaching decision was the launch of the Asian Five Nations in 2008. Korea and Japan kicked off a competition that put in place a formal series contested annually. Perhaps most importantly, the Union established early on that all members would be included and that promotion and relegation throughout the tiers would be a key component.
In 2008, with the partnering with HSBC, we became an organisation that really was the forefront in a lot of areas. So we utilised obviously the investment from HSBC, we used the expertise, but then we were able to put together products that could showcase Asia. And I think that's been a real watershed for us, because in the past we've sort of just been concerned about ourselves, individual members, but now we've gone ahead of other regions in the world who are maturing markets like ourselves.
Six years on, the competition thrives.
because of the popularity of rugby through the World Cup and with it being an Olympic sports in Brazil 2016, I think the growth of rugby in Malaysia as well as I think in this region is growing very tremendously, and there's a lot of interest. Now, whilst those days during my time, mostly the elite clubs and elite schools or universities were playing rugby, but now they are spread throughout even in the remote areas.
Originally, many of those elite schools and clubs were made up of Western expatriates. Over the subsequent 45 years, development throughout the region has been wholesale. Rugby in today's Asia is not only more Asian, but more diverse as well.
I'm proud of the number of increased number of youth players, the increased number of women players in Asia. That's evidenced by the Hong Kong Women's Sevens, which is now an established regional tournament, and so many other unions wanting to promote women's rugby and youth rugby. That wasn't happening back in when the union was formed in 1968.
It was a great idea. There's been lots and lots of Asian tournaments, but now the maturity of the A5N with 28 countries participating in 15s and 7s and women's, this is just a revolution now that must move on.
Stay tuned for more A5N action after the break. After narrowly missing out on promotion to top 5 rugby last year in Manila, Sri Lanka quickly raised its hand to host the 2013 event. Next year's top 5 will be a qualifier for the 2015 World Cup, and a spot is on offer here. But participants must first navigate this 4-team round robin, which includes the host, Kazakhstan, Chinese Taipei and Thailand. In the tournament's opening match, Thailand took advantage of the weather and a visibly drained opponent to register one of the biggest upsets in the history of the competition. Kazakhstan entered as the top seed, 1 year removed from a 5-year run in the top 5. But Thailand raced out to a 17-0 halftime lead, and riding the foot of Vorongkorn Komkat, they cruised to a first-round win.
เป็นเกมที่ใหญ่ครับแล้วก็เพิ่งกลับมาเล่นดิวิชั่น1อีกครั้งหนึ่งแล้วก็หวังว่าเราจะทำหน้าที่ตรงนี้แล้วก็อยู่ในดิวิชั่น1หรือไม่ขึ้นไปถึงระดับท็อปไฟว์ได้เป็นอย่างดีครับ
Ну, завтрашний день, завтра игра покажет. Вроде настроены все. Ну, должны показать хорошую игру, меньше потерь и все остальное.
For Sri Lanka, there would be no such letdown. With the President and First Lady on hand, the host started slowly, leading just 6-3 over Chinese Taipei at the half. But 5 tries in the second, including a brace from fly half Fazil Marja, saw Sri Lanka through, setting up a suddenly meaningful clash with Thailand.
Last year we had a good 2 games, and the last game against Philippines we gave our best shot, but better side won. But I still believe that we could have won that game. But this year it's really important to us because we are playing at our home, our motherland. So I believe this is very important to us, and we are going for the win this time.
第一场比赛其实我们上半场打得还算不错，可是下半场可能因为天气太热，然后导致我们失误也过多，所以没有把握到最后。成绩也不太理想，然后对于下一场比赛，我们希望我们能减少失误，然后把应有的表现给发挥出来，对吧？然后希望能拿下下一场的胜利。
The victory was not to be, as Kazakhstan made necessary adjustments both on and off the field. A far more rested unit ran in 3 first-half tries and reeled off 33 unanswered points before Taipei crossed in the 56th minute. Kazakhstan coach Timur Masharov felt his boys were now in a position to earn immediate promotion back to the top 5.
If the guys play their game, if they don't go to the Sri Lankan's way of playing, if they just play with the ball as we like to do in the attacking rugby, then everything should be fine.
Thailand lined up for the most important game of its existence in the day's second match. A win here would have them on the threshold of top 5 qualification. Sri Lanka brought their A game and snuffed out any idea that they could be beaten, scoring 6 tries before Thailand could answer in the 75th minute. It was now the host tournament to lose.
At the end, we sort of lost a bit of composure, and that's something we need to work on. We need to go 80 and make sure we finish it off.
On the plane we go.
In 2012, the HSBC AFU coaching tour brought rugby into the lives of nearly 12,000 boys and girls across Asia. The 2013 edition began in Sri Lanka, and the highlight was a journey to the previously war-torn area of Jaffna, which lies at the northern tip of the island. Coaching tour mentors Dino Herawini and Ismail Kadir braved the elements in every mode of transportation imaginable as they crisscrossed the country. In all, they visited each of the country's 9 provinces and held clinics for more than 6,000 newcomers to the game.
We've hit every province and literally got new kids coming on board. And by the end of this 14-day trip we're doing in Sri Lanka, we should be hitting over 6,000 kids.
More than 200 students descended onto the St John's College cricket pitch for an introduction to the game. Kadir and Herawini were joined by 20 members of the Colombo-based Army Club, and the children were exposed to the basics of passing and positioning.
ඇත්තටම මේ රගර් ක්‍රීඩාව මේ කොළඹටයි නුවරටයි සීමා වෙච්ච දෙයක් තිබුණේ. දැන් සෑහෙන අපේ ලංකාවේ ගොඩාක් ප්‍රදේශවලට මේක ව්‍යාප්ත වෙලා යනවා. දැන් ඉදිරියටත් ගොඩාක් දේවල් වෙනවා. ඒ හින්දා මේ අද අපි මේ ජෆ්න මේ ඒරියා එකේ යාපන ඒරියා එකට ඇවිල්ලා සෑහෙන හොඳ දෙයක් ලංකාවේ රගර් ඩෙවලොප්මන්ට් කිරීමේ සෑහෙන මේ ඉදිරියට තැනක් තියෙනවා කියලා මේකෙම පේනවා සෑහෙන අපි ඉස්සරහට ගිහිල්ලා තියෙනවා රගර් වලින් කියලා මට මේ කියන්න පුළුවන්.
The coaching tour is targeting over 20,000 new participants in 2013, and if Jaffna is any indication, the coaches will be in for a very busy year.
Kazakhstan came into the tournament's final match needing not just a win, but a win that denied Sri Lanka a bonus point, while earning itself a bonus point as well. Sundu Herat's try in the 4th minute was not the omen Kazakhstan was looking for. On the cusp of top 5 promotion, Sri Lanka played its best match of the tournament, throwing the ball around with confidence. The hosts reeled off 3 first-half tries. This one, a marvellous effort, finished by second-row forward Chanel Dice. Paddy Blenage then finished what fly-half Fazil Marisha had started, and Sri Lanka were resting comfortably at the break, 30 points to 6. Satya Ranatunga opened the second half with a strong charge off the back of the ruck, and Sri Lanka coasted to victory and reclaimed the spot in the top 5 after a 2-year hiatus. Scenes of joy as Sri Lanka captain Yoshita Rajapaksa takes the winning cup from his father, who happens to double as the nation's president.
There is a prestige in my life. In fact, my father is a president of our country, so I respect it as that, and I'm really happy from my bottom of my heart because receive a international trophy from my father's hand.
In what turned out to be the relegation final, Chinese Taipei erased a 16-14 half-time deficit with 6 second-half tries to maintain their spot in Division 1 for another year. Thailand will rue a missed bonus point in their round 1 upset of Kazakhstan, but will take that experience back down with them in Division 2 next year. When we come back, we'll have all the action from the top 5. Don't go away. Just weeks prior to the start of top 5 action in Hong Kong, the Asian women were in town showcasing a level of play unimaginable just a few years ago.
As the HSBC Asian Five Nations enters its 6th year, the tournament's impact on rugby in the region has been dramatic, especially where the women's game is concerned.
5 years ago, we didn't have as many tournaments as what we do today. And with the Asian Five Nations for the men, it's been a big opener for the women. So whereas before we just went to do a curtain raiser just to, for the girls to play, now it's been changed. It's actually now a Asian Four Nations for the women.
It's very similar to the men's Asian Five Nations. And last year it was run in 2 divisions. So the fact that we had 8 Asian unions putting out 15 sides for test matches is pretty incredible.
While the A5N has been instrumental in raising awareness for the game, another obvious development has fueled a recent surge in numbers that has the women's game growing exponentially around the region.
オリンピックの種目に2016年からなってから、これからずっと、2016年のためにどこの各チームも、強化をしていて、各日本もすごい強化をしているので、徐々にアジアのレベルも上がってきていると感じていて、世界のレベルにどんどん近づいてきていると感じています。
自从进入奥运会以后，也进入了中国的全运会、全国运动会以后，那么已经现在有11个省市，加上香港有12个省市，就等于是成立了专业的橄榄球队。
As the sport continues its march towards a more mainstream and respectable existence, participation levels are booming and skill levels are increasing.
I think the diversity of teams represented at the elite level in ARFU is something very special. If you go to the Asian Women's Sevens Championships, you have teams in from Kazakhstan, from Japan, from Thailand, from Laos, from Iran, and the level of competition is quite good.
I think the Asian region as a whole is becoming much more competitive with several teams going full-time. The competition just keeps getting better and better.
With Olympic involvement on the horizon and a dedicated regional competition in place, the prospect for greater popularity looks imminent.
You're seeing great growth on the ground in countries because the elite athletes have achieved success, not just on the Asian stage, but they're also starting to make a statement in tournaments abroad. You have, Japan traveling over to Las Vegas and doing quite well.
It gives the younger girls, they can see what you can do, how you can travel, how you can play in a very competitive sport and to play against all the different countries. So it is a huge, big step for us.
Top 5 action kicked off at the Hong Kong Football Club. After running in 4 first-half tries, reserve scrum half Peter McGee continued the assault, going over in the 54th minute. Johnny Rees followed 15 minutes later, and Hong Kong ran out easy winners.
It was nice to get some structure and some people playing off each other. At the last 10 minutes, that's where we scored a few of our points. So that was nice to finish off like that.
They would have to start much quicker as Asia's big boys, Japan, came to town. The Hong Kong Football Club was buzzing as usual, but for the team, the tone was much more subdued.
We'll have to defend well, from 1 to 15 or 1 to 22. We'll have to defend very, very stoutly. Our set piece will have to function to allow us to play. And if we can get a decent set piece platform, it'll be interesting to see what some of these guys can do.
Japan took control from the start, and after only 7 minutes, Takashi Kisu went over for the game's first try. But Hong Kong buckled down and at times took the match right at Japan. More importantly, their defence held together. Up just 14 points at half-time, Japan eventually wore down Hong Kong, scoring 3 of their 6 tries in the final quarter.
I thought Hong Kong played very well, played very smart, and closed down a number of things that we did well, and we had to work very hard to win.
Top 5 action continues when we come back. While Hong Kong was busy dispatching the UAE at home, the Philippines was gearing up to host its first ever top 5 match. The Volcanos had made an impressive climb up through the ranks to reach the tournament's pinnacle, and returning home was a welcome respite after opening their series in Japan.
On behalf of the Asian Rugby Football Union and the tournament, we're very excited to be coming back to Manila, especially for the first ever top 5 match in the Philippines.
The Philippines' climb to the top 5 began with Division 4 rugby in 2008. That impressive achievement mattered little to the 5-time reigning champions, who opened their 2013 account with an 18-try dismantling of the top 5 debutants in Japan. Local boy Kenki Fukuoka came on for the injured Hideki Onizawa and wowed the home crowd with a brilliant finish. Fukuoka was instrumental in a number of second-half tries, including this one, when he unselfishly popped a pass to reserve front rower Takuma Asahara. Despite the weather, Japan were nearly flawless.
We're really looking to use the Asian Five Nations to build the base of our game. We've tried to get physically stronger, and I think we showed that a little bit today. So the next 3 games, we just want to keep improving every game, get our set piece really strong, our defence good, and we know we can attack.
Yeah, we've got a fair bit to work on, no doubt, in terms of our structures, but hats off to Japan. They were fantastic, and it gave us a real opener into what needs to occur for us to be at this level.
The Philippines has built their elite program around eligible players who live and play abroad. This strategy has brought them success and attracted the media attention necessary to fuel growth in their local grassroots efforts. With a full season in the top 5 this year, the local union expects the number of participants to rise dramatically.
In 2014, I would say it probably triple, even quadruple in number, especially with the success coming from the Volcanoes.
More important than just the increase in bodies, ARFU coaches have had to retailer their annual programs in the Philippines because the players are developing beyond basic fundamentals and instead require real insight into the game.
We've gone from 2013, gone beyond the basic skill level. We're actually gone into team basics, unit skills, pattern plays, where previous years we were just doing simple lateral passing, go forward ball, decision making, but now we've actually gone way beyond.
I think the success that the Philippines is having now as a country is being reflected in what we see in basically A5N rugby here. So now that the Philippines we're playing in the top division, it's a real pleasure to have the whole team in here, and with Michael captaining us, and also Stu stepping up to head coach, to be the head coach in his first game.
With Japan out of the way, Hong Kong was up next.
We understand that it's going to be a big battle in the forwards. We watched them last week against Japan, and their forwards really stepped up defensively and both in the set piece. So we have to really sort of compete at the set piece, win our ball, and obviously try and try and give them a bit of trouble in their set piece.
For 47 minutes they were able to do just that, trailing by just a point. Hong Kong struggled with a very vocal home crowd, but finally settled down in the final quarter. Johnny Rees put the finishing touches on a Dave Whitford break, and the visitors bought themselves some breathing room. 4 minutes later, Rees was once again on hand to finish what Ali McClay started, and suddenly the lead was 15. By the time the Philippines could find an answer, Hong Kong had sealed the match. Regardless, the Philippines had improved dramatically from a difficult opening week, giving them hope that maintaining their top 5 place was possible.
Hard to come down to the Philippines and play against them at home. They've had such a good record here. They've got a great crowd. In saying that, the boys, second half we really switched it on and started to put some patterns together, and I think our fitness really shone through. We scored some really good tries, and I was really proud with the result at the end.
More from the top 5 after the break. At the midway point of the competition, Japan was in its usual position atop the field. And with Hong Kong out of the way, Korea's visit to Tokyo was likely all that stood between the hosts and their 6th consecutive A5N title. Fly half Kozi Ono's first-minute try was quickly followed up by Kenki Fukuoka's just 5 minutes later, and Japan was firmly in control. 3 tries later, it was the other young up-and-comer, Yoshikazu Fujita, crossing over to provide the halftime scoreline, Japan 40, Korea 0. Korea, for their part, played with a persistence that bordered on courageous. With time winding down and Japan 59-0 up, quick ball at the breakdown and a nifty dummy at the gain line freed Oh Young-hyung, who scored the first try against the Brave Blossoms in 3 matches. That positive finish in Tokyo followed Korea home as they took on Hong Kong in what has become an annual slugfest for second place. Ansunwa Stadium provided the setting and Korea provided the fireworks. Oh Young-hyung came out of nowhere to collect the offload and dot down to extend Korea's lead to 10-0. In the second half, Hong Kong closed the gap to 7 and were playing on the front foot, but an ill-advised pass gave Kim An-uk a clear path to the try zone, and the stocky centre put the match out of reach.
이번 대회를 위해서 좀 준비 기간 동안 열심히 선수들끼리 잘 했던 게 이번 경기에서 또 특히 드러났던 것 같습니다.
With the competition all but sewn up, Japan travelled to Dubai for their final match of the series. And to the surprise of no one, the visitors had a fairly easy go of it. Up 41-0 at half-time, Japan came out in the second and continued the onslaught. Asahara crossed over for his second try of the competition. Harumichi Takakawa got in on the action minutes later after Ryoto Nakamura created the space. And reserve scrum half Asushi Hiwasa put the finishing touches on a comprehensive win with a cheeky break through the heart of the UAE defence. The win marked the 6th straight year that Japan had gone unbeaten in the competition, and for their efforts, they once again hoisted the A5N Championship trophy.
What are you most pleased about the performance this season?
Just we've improved our physical status. We've still got a long way to go, but certainly we've become a lot more physical, and yeah, we can play the game a few different ways now.
The loss meant that the UAE had to travel to Manila for a relegation battle with the host Philippines. Both sides suffered stinging losses during the competition. but could UAE's experience over the years see them through? Their cause wasn't helped when they turned over at the breakdown and Ben Saunders flipped to Gareth Holgate to make the score 12-0. For 25 minutes, the two sides jousted back and forth until finally the UAE answered through their pack. Captain Rainer Els was credited with the try, and the visitors cut the half-time deficit to 12-5. In the second, UAE opened the scoring with a penalty but would get no closer. The clincher was a brilliant individual effort from Nat Saunders, who took an innocuous-looking ball from the ground and secured the Philippines' place in the next year's top 5. So, with Sri Lanka's Division 1 win earlier in the season, the top 5 is set for next year's World Cup qualifiers, where the top finisher earns an automatic bid and the runners-up earn a repechage spot. With 2013 in the books, 8 tries from Kim Guan-min were tops in the competition, while compatriot Oh Yong-hyung took the overall scoring title. Division 2 and 3 action coming up after the break. For the second straight year, the Malaysian capital of Kuala Lumpur hosted both the Division 2 and Division 3 tournaments. Competing in Division 3 were debutants Qatar, alongside China, Guam and Indonesia. In Division 2, for the first time since 2010, the hosts and arch-rival Singapore would be competing for promotion from the same division. Joining them in D2 were Iran and India. Singapore came in favourites after falling from Division 1 last year. India earned promotion from Division 3 last year on the back of a winning effort. However, the bridge between the two sides proved too great, as Singapore had little trouble advancing to the final. 4 first-half tries put the game out of reach, and in the second half Singapore ran in 7 more to round out an impressive effort.
I thought we did well on the forwards today. We started off really slow and giving a lot of penalties, but second half we really brought our discipline up, and then we just kept moving forward, and eventually a try just came in from there.
As expected, Malaysia and Iran were more closely matched, as both had played D2 rugby in 2012. And at the 40-minute mark, Malaysia led 18-5 in a match that was closer than the score indicated. But 4 second-half tries, including this 80-metre effort, finished off brilliantly by Wan Ismail, spelled doom for Iran, and the long-awaited Singapore versus Malaysia final was on.
The Malaysian team already do the great job today with Iran, because we are playing white, because play against Iran, they are very big than us. Then we just play white and less contact with them.
The following day, the Division 3 tournament kicked off with Guam facing Indonesia. Both were back after stints in the same division last year, and when Indonesia's Steve Field picked off an errant Guam pass and raced 70 metres for the score early in the second half, the Guam lead was cut to 8. Guam kicked it up a gear in the final 30 minutes, however, scoring 3 unanswered tries and booked a spot in the D3 final for the 3rd straight year.
We knew the
Rhinos were going to take us up front, and from last year they're very physical, and we knew that was going to happen. So we just wanted to try to assert our dominance up early in the forward within the forward pack, and we kind of did that. They gave us a fight, and it was a really good game.
In the last of the division semi-finals, top-seeded China arrived in Malaysia with a substandard squad, and they paid the price versus a Qatari side making its D3 debut. Qatar piled on 5 first-half tries in a match they would eventually win 76-0, giving them a chance to jump up 2 divisions in as many years.
It was obviously the conditions played a massive factor today. We're not used to training or playing in this weather, so we had to adapt. I thought we did really well. We played the corners. We were very clinical in our finishing.
So D2 promotion was now in the hands of Guam and Qatar. Guam had lost heartbreaking finals in each of the last 2 years, and with their coach retiring, they had plenty of motivation. Down 3 at the break, Guam put together an inspiring possession that culminated in the unlikeliest of line breaks. Front row forward Brendan O'Malley crashed through to give Guam a 7-3 lead early in the second half. But Qatar answered back 15 minutes later through Jamie Frost, who carried 3 defenders across the line with him, and Guam was left to rue a 3rd straight loss in the D3 final.
We knew they were going to be strong boys, big boys. We said we were going to muscle up to them, but they put us right off our game plan by hitting us hard, and they kept coming at us.
So Qatar jumped 2 divisions in as many years on the back of a muscular win over Guam, while China falls to Division 4 with a loss to D3 stalwarts Indonesia. That's left the main event, a battle between Malaysia and Singapore. Singapore has had the better results over 6 years of A5N rugby, but there has never been much between the 2 sides, so it was a huge statement when Singapore flexed its muscle midway through the first half to counter 3 Malaysian penalties. Down 9-7 at the break, Singapore took the lead through Blandon Tan, and the conversion made it 14-9. The teams traded penalties before Malaysia drove deep into Singapore territory. With ball in hand, captain Mohamed Sayer lowered his head and steamrolled over the line to tie the game up at 17 each. The conversion failed, and minutes later, the Malaysian defence committed the penalty that would decide the match. As the partisan crowd looked on in disbelief, scrum half Suhami Amlan calmly slotted the winner, and a 2-year run of relegation losses had been thwarted. Singapore was heading back to Division 1.
At the end of the day, we really dug deep, really pulled through, and we never gave up.
So Singapore goes back to Division 1, while India, who was so close to Division 1 rugby just a year ago, will now spend 2014 in D3. Action from Dubai coming up after the break. For the 3rd year running, the UAE hosted the Division 4 tournament at the Sevens in conjunction with its top 5 contest against Japan. The first match was between the 2 holdouts from last year's D4 tournament, Lebanon and Uzbekistan. Lebanon took control early, but Uzbekistan, who for years had been a stepping stone for teams looking to reach the finals, brought over a new and improved version and was giving Lebanon all it could handle. But a badly executed kick off the base of the breakdown ended up in the hands of Ali Harb, and the centre raced 40 metres before popping ahead to winger Joe Zidane, and Lebanon was through to the final for the 3rd consecutive year.
Line running and structure, we were good, but we couldn't finish it
well, like the handling and maintaining the pods.
The second match was between Pakistan and Laos. Pakistan entered the tournament as top seeds, and for 30 minutes they played like it. Fullback Ajay Hussein's neat dummy and inside step helped Pakistan to a 19-6 lead at the half. Laos, playing in Division 4 for the first time, refused to buckle. Anusid Chanlan Suk neatly gathered a well-placed scrubber, and Pakistan's lead was cut to 26-18. But a timely individual effort from Khalid Bhatti spared Pakistan from an embarrassing collapse and sealed a spot in the final against Lebanon.
I think it was basically the defense, and we had big boys. They tackled hard, we made good runs, and it was all right for us.
In the final, Pakistan played with none of the urgency that saw them through their semi-final with Laos. A porous defence and lack of resolve in the tackle allowed Lebanon to score at will. Joe Zidane dotted down the second of his 3 tries on the afternoon. And a great pass out wide from Karim Jamal and an unselfish inside pop from Zidane to Wael Herb cemented the match and D3 promotion for Lebanon.
I think we've got enough quality and skill in our pack, in our bags. I think we just need to prepare like we did this year. 2 or 3 months before, get a camp going and just move forward from there.
While Lebanon celebrated, Laos came up just short in their 3rd and 4th match with Uzbekistan, but will likely hold on to their spot in D4 for 2014. With Jordan facing disciplinary sanctions, Cambodia hosted Brunei in the 2-round Division 5 final. Brunei had gotten the better of Cambodia in Phnom Penh last year, but the hosts had a 2-month training camp prior to the tournament, and it showed. Confidence and execution were keys to Cambodia's dominance in the first of the 2 legs. Brunei struggled to mount any kind of attack, and when they faltered, Cambodia pounced, putting up 38 points en route to a convincing first leg win and a commanding points differential going into the second leg.
Now we are Thai. We are combined together, like we backward and forward, we are close. I mean, they come to support each other. When the ball, everywhere the ball, our guys support.
As the teams geared up for their second encounter, the Cambodian Federation of Rugby, in conjunction with the HSBC ARFU coaching tour, held a clinic for 700 children. The federation has been reaching out to the local community from the time of its inception.
The federation itself was formed about 12 years ago now, or 13 years ago, and it was formed with the partnership between an NGO called PSA. PSA was working with children and families that were living on the rubbish dumps of Phnom Penh. Most of our national team today came from that program 12 years ago, and they're actually still expanding at the moment.
From a one-room shack that distributed rice to families in need, PSC has grown into a powerhouse of an NGO that now provides education to more than 2,000 children on its campus and oversees another 5,000 students studying in and around the city.
ដោយសារខ្ញុំបានរៀននៅ PSA នេះតាំងពីឆ្នាំ 1998 ដល់ឆ្នាំ 2000 ហើយខ្ញុំបានការងារធ្វើហើយខ្ញុំបានលេងបាល់ឱបនៅទីនេះដោយសារតែខ្ញុំមាន PSA ជួយខ្ញុំច្រើនខ្ញុំមានអ្វីៗសពថ្ងៃនេះគឺដោយសារតែ PSA ទាំងអស់
Federation officials are now experimenting with creative ways to expand its outreach. Delegating limited control to outside groups has allowed rugby to find a home in new areas of the city, such as the Crozer May School of the Deaf and Blind.
Since the beginning, we have been trying to promote the rugby among the young people, the grassroots. But last year, we decided to get with us 2 development officers and we allow a new NGO, Ball Up, Kampuchea Ball Up.
The main goal of the program is to develop rugby and to use rugby as a tool of social education. But what we want to do is also to coach the Khmer to be able to develop the project. That's why, since January, we are training 3 Khmer coaches.
Hiring and empowering local Khmer coaches is proving a winning strategy for the NGO. But for the coaches, the real rewards come from the feedback they get from their charges.
ធ្វើការនៅកម្ពុជាបាឡោបជាគ្រូបង្ហាត់នៅលើទីលានប្រកួតហើយខ្ញុំបង្ហាត់ក្មេងគឺការលេងជាក្រុមការរត់និងការតិចនិចនៃការប៉ះបាល់និងតិចនៃការចាប់
At the beginning, when we train for the first time with them, they don't really know what we are doing. But when we bring them to their first game, and when they put their first jersey, and all their teammates have the same jersey, they feel like, okay, we are belonging to a team.
With the A5N in town, the CFR used the coaching tour clinic to launch another program, the Good Men of Rugby campaign. One portion of the clinic was set aside for the Good Man booth, and all 700 participants were briefed.
The Good Men of Rugby is here to promote and help promote gender equality and domestic violence awareness in Cambodia. Today we've been running it as part of the coaching this morning.
We try to promote the kid, try to teach the kid how to be a good people when they was a kid. So when they grow up, they can, you know, like it doesn't mean like they have to talk to the woman only. They can talk to every people and being a good people and being a good personality.
In 2003, the CFR received the IRB Development Award and has consistently run programs that reach those marginalised and displaced around the capital. However, CFR officials are currently working to spread the game across the country.
The next target will be to get the rugby into the Cambodian school. This is our real target.
What we're working on with these kids is a lot of them, they have so much energy and they do not have a sporting outlet. Because as I said, a lot of them come from NGOs and from impoverished backgrounds. With the kids here, they've just developed this passion for rugby.
The final match of the 2013 HSBC Asian 5 Nations series kicked off following the clinic, and Brunei forced Cambodia to work a little harder for their points. But with a raucous home crowd providing plenty of noise, the hosts were not going to let themselves down. A spirited effort from winger Vanara Norm held Cambodia to a 14-0 lead at the break. In the second half, a super individual effort from captain Vanak Verik provided the final margin. 2 months of training camp had paid off with 2 convincing wins, and Cambodia would lift the A5N D5 trophy.
You know, in both games, defence was very good, and it showed on the scoreboard. And I think we played well together as a team.
So Cambodia wins their first ever A5N trophy with 2 solid wins over Brunei. As these 2 sides continue to develop, look for a Division 5 winner to see promotion in the near future. Well, that's going to do it for us this year. Be sure and check out our social media sites as the HSBC 7 series gets underway in late August. And keep an eye out for us next year as the top 5 winner receives an automatic bid to the 2015 Rugby World Cup. So long from bustling Phnom Penh.